What's up, Beta Nation? Welcome to Dapp Central, your home for everything blockchain and crypto. I'm your host here, Fareed. Today, we're diving into updates surrounding the Indigo protocol v2. If you're not familiar with Indigo, they're a synthetics protocol. They're actually the leading protocol by TVL right now on Cardano, and they allow for you to use your ADA as collateral in order to open up collateralized debt positions in order to mint what they call iAssets. These are essentially assets that are not native to Cardano, and they currently have iAssets supporting the US dollar, which is dubbed as IUSD. They've also got support for IBTC, representing Bitcoin, and iETH, also representing Ethereum. As a part of today's video, I want to highlight and dive into some details surrounding the V2 version of this protocol that should be released either in this month of April or as the month of May rolls around. Now, that said, the team has discussed and released some recent updates surrounding the progress of V2 in a recent Twitter space. I'll go and leave the link to that down below. But as a part of that, they gave us some updates surrounding their audit. They also talked a little bit about their mainnet launch and how the actual migration for the CDPs could potentially play out. So I want to highlight that as a part of today's video. But I also want to quickly touch on their monthly stats, as well as their current state of TVL, as well as liquid staking, given a recent article which has just been released by Binance. After that, I want to talk about some brand new parameters that have been released for the Indigo protocol, and one particular parameter that has actually been deprecated as a part of V2. Now, towards the end of today's video, I want to talk about some recent and some ongoing iAsset temperature checks, which will be surrounding the parameterization of the brand new iAssets as a part of V2. And then I want to close out by reviewing a buy to burn feature, which has been teased by the team. Now, after all of that, and actually before I get to all that, I also want to touch on a recent bit of news surrounding an exchange listing. Again, check out the recent Twitter space. I'll leave the link to that down below. But if you enjoy content like this, make sure to smash that thumbs up. If it's your first time stopping by, consider subscribing to Dapp Central. And last but not least, if you have any questions for me, then make sure to go ahead and leave a comment down below. Now, if you want to take it a step further and you want to support the channel, consider delegating with the official Dapp Central stake pool, which is stake pool ticker DAPP. Right now, not only will you earn traditional ADA rewards, but you'll also be earning the Matera utility token, as well as the Sarah utility token, which is a DeFi hub building here on Cardano. So I'm going to quickly kick things off by highlighting the highlights from the recent Twitter space. And we actually had Cardano with Paul, who actually hosted this particular space. And as a part of that, they talked about the brand new V2 features, which include peg stabilization, fee restructuring for Indigo token stakers, as well as performance upgrades and brand new parameters. I'm going to touch on the brand new parameters here in just a minute. But in addition to that, they gave us some updates surrounding when we could see this launch on the mainnet. As it stands right now, they kicked off their initial audit back in the month of February. So it's been about 8 weeks or so, and they've got some initial feedback from their auditor. So they're now in the remediation stage, working to make any fixes or highlight any bugs that were discovered during the audit. After that, we can expect an additional audit to take place. And if there's any more remediations or findings, the team is going to have that back and forth. So they are making progress. They've at least started the auditing process. And as I mentioned, they're now working to resolve some of those found issues. Now, what does that mean for the actual mainnet launch of V2? Well, that means that it's right around the corner, right? So that could happen either in the month of April or in early May. And this will actually be done through their DAO. Again, really relying heavily on their community to confirm when V2 should actually go live. Now, last but not least, when it comes to just the migration of the CDPs and the collateral and liquidity from V1 to V2, the team did mention that there will be some minor downtime, but the community will be partially in charge, right, of how this actually happens. And keep in mind that this will all be done using smart contracts. So there's no manual process in place where the actual Indigo team has the ability to manage or get access to the underlying collateral for those CDPs. But keep in mind that there will be a migration from the V1 contracts to the V2 contracts. In closing, I want to highlight the fact that the team has teased out a recent centralized exchange listing. We don't actually have who the platform is, but I believe we're expecting this to be listed on April 10th. Now, I'm just going to give my opinion here. We've seen a lot of Cardano projects listing on Maxi, Bitrue, KuCoin, just to name a few. I personally think that it's going to be Maxi. They are, I believe, one of the bigger exchanges, and they're one that we've seen a lot of Cardano native tokens listing on very recently. So I want to kick things off with there. Again, check out that Twitter space. But let's go ahead and jump straight back in and review the monthly stats in the TVL. As it stands right now, again, Indigo in the lead with $91 million locked, followed by MinSwap with 79 million, and then LQ or Liquid with 47 million. The team just released their monthly stats, and I want to quickly touch on this here as well. So right now, in terms of TVL, we have IUSD with a total value locked of $78 million, followed by IBTC at $12 million and iETH at $10 million. So taking a look and comparing IBTC's TVL versus IUSD's, that's about a 6.5x. Now jumping down to the iAsset market cap, we have IUSD at 21 million, IBTC at 7 million, and iETH at 5.2 million. Again, comparing IBTC, which is the runner-up, compared to IUSD's market cap, that's about a 3x. So IUSD really the bread and butter for Indigo, and I want to touch on how they're aiming to improve the peg and just make it a lot easier, right, to manage moving forward. In terms of open CDPs, again, IUSD taking the lead. They've got 900 IUSD CDPs currently open, followed by IBTC with about 381, and then iETH with about 278. So again, about a 3x-ish comparing IBTC CDPs and IUSD CDPs. Again, really highlighting the importance of IUSD. Now I want to take a quick moment here to highlight a recent article that was just released by Binance touching on staking and liquid staking to be specific. However, they were talking about derivatives when it comes to liquid staking. So what this essentially entails is taking a asset, for example, Ethereum, providing that to an operator, and then receiving another token that represents the currently staked ETH. On Cardano, that could be a lot different, or that is a lot different in the sense that when we're talking about liquid staking, your ADA never leaves your wallet. You always have full custody of that ADA, and you're actually able to use that ADA in other protocols. Now, an additional feature or an additional way to use liquid staking on Cardano is displayed here, which I want to highlight. And this is a specific use case just for Indigo. Now, we've seen other protocols also take advantage of how the staking model takes place on Cardano, and that's through the use of a staking key and a payment key. So on a platform, for example, like Indigo, you can open up a collateralized debt position. And in order to do that, you have to utilize ADA. Now, number two, because of how the payments in the stake keys are set up on Cardano, you can provide that ADA to a smart contract, giving over control for the payment key to the Indigo protocol in case you have to get liquidated, but you still have control over the staking key. What this means is that your ADA continues to stay delegated or staked automatically. And then as a part of step number 3 there, you can delegate to your favorite stake pool operator. So you still have the choice to identify who you want to contribute to when it comes to a stake pool operator viewpoint, even though your underlying collateral is locked up in a smart contract. Step number 4 is that this also even allows for you to participate in ISPOs, so you can earn ADA and other Cardano native tokens while still having your collateral locked for the CDP. Last but not least, you can actually use these iAssets in DeFi simultaneously, meaning you can lock up your collateral, which is ADA, right? Delegate that to whoever you want, receive IUSD or IBTC, and then provide that, right, as yield or as a borrowable asset on platforms, for example, like LQ or Liquid, or even LendFi in order to earn a yield or in order to earn interest. So I wanted to quickly take a minute to squash that bug there and really straighten up the record when it comes to liquid staking, comparing that to the riskier model that Binance was highlighting in their article versus what we have here in Cardano, which again provides a lot more security and stability as well as flexibility. So now that we have that out the way, there is an article breaking that down here. I'll leave the link to that down below. I want to quickly touch on the brand new parameters that have been announced for V2. As it stands, one of the most crucial parameters to be aware of when you have an open position on Indigo is the minimum collateral ratio. That will be going away, and they're going to be introducing 3 brand new variables or parameters as a part of V2. So I want to quickly touch on what those are as well. Now, if you're not familiar with the minimum collateral ratio, this is essentially the collateral percentage that must be maintained in a CDP in order to avoid liquidation. It ensures that the value of the minted iAsset is always covered by a sufficient amount of collateral. What this basically means is that you can never mint more of an iAsset valued greater than the collateral, right? Because then that puts the protocol, at risk. So in order to make sure that you never put the protocol at risk, you have to over collateralize your CDP. So if you put down $100 worth of ADA, you could potentially, depending on the MCR of the iAsset, mint, for example, $50 worth of an iAsset. That way, if you are liquidated, the protocol can always recoup its iAsset, but then never putting the protocol in jeopardy, right, allowing users to over leverage themselves on the Indigo protocol. So the MCR was a really big piece to keep in mind when you were dealing with V1. However, in V2, that's going away, and that's going to be replaced by the MR, or the maintenance ratio, the LR, the liquidation ratio, and the RMR, the redemption maintenance ratio. Kicking things off with the maintenance ratio, it states that the MR serves several purposes. It is the threshold for opening a CDP, and it also sets the minimum collateral ratio at which a user can withdraw collateral or mint iAssets while operating as a debt mint limit. So in order to open up a brand new CDP, you have to meet the maintenance ratio. In order to go ahead and actually close or withdraw your collateral, you also have to meet the maintenance ratio. If you want to mint additional iAssets after you've already opened up a CDP, you also have to go ahead and meet the maintenance ratio. Next, we have the liquidation ratio, and this is the collateral ratio at which the CDP is subject to liquidation. It's very similar to the MCR in V1, but in V2, it involves the MR parameter. Now that dictates the collateralization ratio of newly minted iAssets and adjustments to existing debt. So with the liquidation ratio, that will be a little bit more dynamic based off of the first parameter, which is the maintenance ratio. Third and last but not least, we have the RMR, or the redemption maintenance ratio. So this dictates the specific collateral ratio at which a CDP can be redeemed against. When there are, CDPs below the RMR, users can redeem their iAssets. Now, this is not withdrawing your collateral, but you can begin to burn a little bit of your iAssets. And this aims to maintain the stability of the iAsset pegs while providing a mechanism for iAsset redemption. So we've got, again, the removal of the MCR and the addition of those three brand new parameters. Essentially, what this boils down to is that this is going to be a much more dynamic process and a much more dynamic model, where you only have to worry about one parameter before. Now, depending on how you're using the protocol, if you're opening up initial position and trying to mint additional assets, the LR and the RMR are not going to be taken into effect. I'll leave the link to this down below if you guys want to find out more. Now, the next thing I want to jump into is the iAsset parameters. There is a temp check for 3 separate iAssets, iUSD, iBTC, and iETH right now when it comes to setting up these parameters that I just highlighted for these new iAssets when V2 launches. If I jump over into the actual platform itself, I'll leave the link to this down below. It talks about some of the motivation for updating these parameters. Now, specifically with iUSD in the last 6 months, we've observed that a severe depegging has taken place. This coincides with an upward trend in the market, and a depeg diminishes the utility of iUSD, which is of course crucial to maintaining growth of the protocol. I couldn't agree any further or any more. Now, this breaks down some of the features, which include strengthening the peg, as well as protocol development and enhancing the DAO treasury based off of the following parameters. So the community has the ability to vote on the MR, the LR, and the RMR, which I just got done explaining, as well as the debt minting fee, the daily interest rate, as well as the liquidation processing fees. So make sure to go ahead and check that out and jump in there and make sure that your voice is heard if you are an Indie token holder. Last but not least, we've got a feature that was just teased out by the team, and this is the buy to burn feature. So imagine a scenario where you've minted $100 worth of an iAsset, let's say iUSD. You have to pay that back in order to unlock your underlying collateral. Now, in the event that you, for some reason, maybe sold off a portion of that iUSD, or that you sent it to somebody else, you can pay back a portion, right? So in this example, let's say you've borrowed or minted $100 worth of iUSD, and you're only able to repay $90 worth of the iUSD. You still have a remaining balance of 10 iUSD. With this brand new buy to burn feature, you're able to, from the Indigo protocol, purchase the remaining iUSD in order to close out your CDP, and then immediately pay that back to actually close out your CDP. So it's almost like a two in one step process where you can now purchase an iAsset from a platform like Wingriders or MintSwap, and then have that be automatically used to close your CDP. So just kicking off this video here, we can see that they need about 1 iUSD to close a CDP, and they're going to use this brand new buy to burn feature in order to go ahead and close out the CDP. And you're going to see how seamless this actually is. So here again, they're now choosing to close out their swap, or to close out their position by making a swap to purchase the amount that they need on the open market, which is about 1 iUSD. They're now confirming the swap order taking place on the Wingriders DEX. And they're now confirming that they want to go ahead and actually burn that iUSD in order to close out their position. So now this is building or the transaction is being built. And once they sign this, we should be able to see that their CDP has actually been closed out. And just like that, the buy to burn is complete. And as you can see there, that yellow warning sign has not gone away, and they no longer owe any more IUSD to the protocol. That will do it here for today's video, breaking down everything going on with the Indigo platform. I hope you guys find this to be helpful. If you did, I would appreciate you if you could smash that thumbs up. If it's your first time stopping by and you want more content like this, breaking down everything going on in Cardano, consider subscribing. And last but not least, if you have any questions for me, then make sure you leave a comment down below. That said, and as always, I'll see you guys in the next video.